I just bought this cool amp. Look at all the stuff on the back of this. What the heck does this effects loop send and return thing mean? That's a great question. I get asked that a lot. So I'm going to tell you exactly what it is and how it works. The ins and outs, the who's, the what's, the time of day, who, what, when, why, where, how, all that stuff. It's all coming. I'm going to answer all of it for you. Get ready. Let's rip. Okay, boys and girls in YouTube land, there's this thing on the back of most amplifiers, especially tube amplifiers. It says send and return effects loop. What is that? Well, I'm going to tell you how it is, okay? Because that's what they pay me to do. So make sure you subscribe, like, and comment, okay? Because I don't get paid unless you do, and even then it's pennies on the dollar. But that's okay. I'll be able to eat tomorrow. Okay, so here's the deal. What that is there are two parts of most amplifiers. I always say most because as soon as you say all amplifiers, you know, somebody goes, not this one. Okay, so on most amplifiers there's an effects loop send and return. Okay, so the amplifier has two parts. It's got a preamp section and a power amp section. Okay, the preamp section is where everything is EQ'd. The power amp section, all it does is amplify. Okay, so an effects loop is meant for pedals or your effects. If you have a rack mount effects or if you have certain pedals that you like to use, sometimes pedals work better in an effects loop as opposed to in the front of the amp. Okay, so what I'm going to show you today is an example of that. So the effects loop, what it does is it puts your pedal or your effect, whatever you want to use, after the EQ section of your amplifier, but before the power amp section of your amplifier. What that does is it gives it a cleaner signal. If you go from a guitar to a pedal and then into your amp, the preamp section of your amplifier EQs it. A lot of times you don't want that EQ'd. So if you don't want it EQ'd, you put it in the effects loop. Examples are reverbs, delays. A lot of times you don't want those EQ'd. We call those time-based effects because reverbs and delays are time-based as opposed to a distortion or an overdrive, sometimes even phaser flanger. Obviously we call those an altering effect, but a time-based effect sounds, most of the time will sound better in the effects loop. What I'm going to show you today is a delay pedal, and I've got an Obscura Digitech. Right now I've got it in front of the amp, and I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to use a delay pedal in front of the amp, in other words, guitar into pedal and then into the amplifier, and I'm going to show you what it sounds like, and then I'm going to change nothing on the pedal. The only thing I'm going to do is then at that point run it through the effects loop so that you will be able to hear the difference. It's going to sound a lot cleaner and it's going to sound totally different. So a lot of you guys running delays and reverbs and time-based effects might want to consider using your effects loop after this. Okay? Alright, so I've got just the standard gear that I always use back in our secret bunker layer of the CA House YouTube land, and that's the EVH 5153 combo. I've got it, I'm not using the face melt today. I'm using a little crunchy crunch. Gain on 26 instead of 37.5, which is where I usually have it. And then I just have, we'll show you the settings I have on the delay because I want to show you that when we move it to the effects loop, I'm not going to change it. Okay? So, here it is. I'll just play something real quick. So that's you can hear the slap back of the delay. Right? Can you hear that? Okay, so. Alright, so there it is in the front of the amp. But listen how much it's going to change when you now run it through the effects loop. So I've switched it over. Okay, and here's what's going to happen. Put the delay pedal through the effects loop. And how you set this up is your amplifier has, as I've spoken, a send and return. The send means the signal's coming out of the amp, and you put that to the input of your pedal. And then the output of your pedal goes back to the return because you're returning the signal. So you're sending it out to the pedal, and you're returning it back into the amplifier. Pretty simple. It's just like a loop. If you've ever hooked up a VCR Back in the early days, there were tapes about this big, and they had tapes in them, and you could record things on them. It was a long time ago, okay? But you hooked them up this way. It was a loop, all right? So that's what we did. Now, what you're going to notice is that it's going to be a lot more subtle, okay? Because I'm not putting it in front of the amp. It's not being EQ'd, it's not being distorted, it's not being compressed. So that signal is going to be cleaner, but it's going to be quieter, okay? And we've changed nothing other than put it through the effects loop. Same delay, same settings. A lot more subtle, but also a lot cleaner. A lot more subtle, but it's a lot cleaner. So that's why you want to put your time-based effects through there, such as reverbs, delays, even a little bit of phase flanger sometimes. It's going to be a little more subtle. Sometimes guys want that at the front of the amp so that it's really big and boomy. But you would never want to run distortions, that kind of thing in the effects loop. I mean, it'll physically work, but I don't think you would like the outcome of it. I think the only thing I haven't tried is to put a wah through an effects loop. If you've tried that, put that down in the comments. Tell me if it worked, tell me if it didn't work. I don't know, tell me people do that all the time and I'm stupid. I don't know. Put whatever you want down there. Just write something in the comments, okay? It would be nice and appreciated. So that's the basic rundown. You want to have a little more detail? Come in. We'll experiment through some. We'll run some effects through the effects loop. We'll run some in the front of the amp. Bring a pizza. Companies will be here for a while because we'll really do an experiment. We'll sit Indian style in the middle of the floor. We'll just run a bunch of pedals together. You know, we'll talk about life stuff. Life matters. Doesn't have to be all about pedals. But come in. We'll go a little more in depth and you'll be able to hear it for yourself. All right? So until next time. See ya.